When we are loved, we are afraid, love will vanish. When we are alone, we are afraid, love will never return. And when we speak, we are afraid, our words will not be heard, nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak, remembering we were never meant to survive. These are the words of Audre Lorde, an outspoken poet who frequently used her voice to champion human rights. To better understand and appreciate her voice, let's take a look back at where she got her start. Audre was born in New York City during the height of the Great Depression. Her parents were both immigrants from the Caribbean. Her mother's skin color was noticeably lighter than her father's, which was a problem at a time when many places banned interracial marriage. In Harlem, New York, however, the family was able to put down roots. From the very beginning, young Audre was in love with poetry. She began writing poetry in the 8th grade and changed the spelling of her own name when she was a child, dropping the Y from the end of Audrey because she liked the artistic effect. However, life for Audre was not particularly easy. She would later say that she had trouble expressing herself when she was a child, which seemed to be part of what drew her to poetry. She described how, at that time, her thoughts came in the form of poems, and she often spoke using bits of other people's poems that she had memorized. Audre also had a difficult history with her parents, especially her mother, who she described as being emotionally cold. However, being a talented writer helped Audre a great deal. As a teenager, she had poetry published in 17 magazine, and soon spent a year at Mexico's National University. The distance and setting there allowed her to grow, both in her personal identity and as an artist. She returned to New York to Hunter College with a stronger sense of herself. It was during this time that she became more outspoken about who she really was. Audre was gay, and for years she'd felt as though she was treated as an outcast because of it, even in places where she might have felt welcome, such as Harlem's Writers Guild. She still didn't feel like people accepted her. She described it later by saying, "They thought I would grow out of it all." But as she finished her college degree and began going to graduate school, Audre became more involved in gay culture. In 1968, she spent a year as a writer in residence for college in Mississippi and found herself growing even more as an artist. A large part of this growth came from embracing her identity as she described herself, crazy and queer. In 1976, she published a book of poetry entitled Coal. Though she'd been a writer for many years, this was the work which gained her large acclaim and influence. She spoke powerfully about injustice, about the rage she felt at society's prejudices, and also about her unique experiences. Lorde was an early voice in the movement for intersectionality, the idea that a person is not defined by one identity but many. She saw herself as more than just a black person, but as a woman, a lesbian, a warrior. "I'm defined by every group I'm a part of," she said proudly. In 1984, she gained enough prominence that she was brought in as a visiting professor in West Berlin. There, she helped support Afro-Germans who felt marginalized in their own country. She became a mentor to many young women in that nation and did her best to inspire them to become forceful advocates for their rights and their futures. She was in Berlin in 1989 when the Berlin Wall fell and wrote about the complex racial dynamics which came from reunification of the city. The later years of Lorde's life were also defined by illness. First diagnosed with cancer in 1978, she struggled with the disease for the rest of her life. However, Audre also used this struggle to fuel her artistic expression, writing the award-winning book The Cancer Journals, first published in 1981. Forced to face her own mortality, Audre Lorde moved in permanently with one of her romantic partners in the Caribbean island of St. Croix, and it was there that she died in 1992 at the age of 58. During her life, Audre Lorde was an award-winning writer, a powerful speaker, and a motivational force in multiple countries. She didn't limit herself to advocating for only one cause. In her words, there's no such thing as a single-issue struggle because we do not live single-issue lives. It's hard to find the words to sum up a life like this, but she managed to do that herself, saying that she was black, lesbian, feminist, socialist, mother, warrior, poet. What else is there to say?